Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast, where every week we want to give you encouragement through different means such as testimonies, dialogues with guests, along with diving into the scriptures and exploring the incredible life-transforming truths inside it. So with all that being said, here's another episode for you to tune into and listen to. God bless. Enjoy the episode. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast with me, Jerry D. So we're in the middle of the More Than Words series, which is basically, it's a tour that I'm going on in September. And as I've said to you already, that every week we're going to have different guests on who are a part of that tour. And the guest this week is Joel. And I don't know much about this guy except that the reports I've gotten from him, from people who I'm working with, are quite good. That he loves Jesus. He's involved in ministry. He's a spoken word artist. So already, before we've even had a conversation, we both have similarities. So Joel, I want you to know, man, I'm really honored, just first of all, that we get to partner in September to go on tour together and make much of Jesus. But first and foremost, man, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm doing really well. It's a real blessing to be here this evening. And yeah, I'm looking forward to
Yeah, man,
conversation.
awesome. So this is the Hope Sessions podcast, right? And every guest that I
Mm.
have on is someone who has a story of how they came to faith in Jesus. So I want to
Mm.
hand it over to you, man, for the next 5 minutes or so. And would you share how you came to faith in Jesus, what that journey was like for us?
Yeah, of course. Um, so yeah, I'm very blessed to have been raised in a strong Christian household.
Hmm.
So for as long as I can remember, Jesus has, my parents have always raised me in the way I should go.
Yeah.
Um, and they've taught me well. They've passed things on and really made sure that I've had a good foundation in myself.
Hmm.
But obviously that doesn't make you a Christian, growing up in a
Yeah.
Christian household. So when I was, I think I was 11 when I decided to get baptized and
Hmm.
to ask Christ to become my God rather than just my parents' God.
Yeah.
Um, and then from there, I mean, obviously I'm not perfect, so I had in that time, ups and downs with my faith. Um, and sort of hit a low point at around uh a low point 12, 13,
Okay.
where I just sort of drifted away and tried doing things my own way.
Hmm.
Um, but then I got into some stuff as well that I shouldn't probably have been into.
Hmm.
Um, but then at the age of 14, I was very blessed to have been taken out of that. I went to my parents and said, listen, I'm struggling with this and I need help.
Yeah.
And they walked with me through that. They got me out and helped me set my relationship with God right as well.
Yeah.
And so from the age of 14, that's where I thought, okay, I've gone so far. I've given Christ my life. I've gone so far. Now I have to give everything because he's given everything and I
Hmm.
don't deserve to be forgiven. I don't deserve the grace that he's shown me, but he has anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then from there, it's just been a process of asking God what the next step is
Hmm.
and then just letting him open those doors and then just following them. Um, yeah, and it's led me to do some amazing things, including this tour.
Yeah. That's awesome. I suppose a question I have for you, man, is two of my closest friends are pastors' kids. So they've
Mm,
they've grown up in a strong Christian household. And you said you came to faith in Jesus when you were 11. And I
mm.
wonder, did you feel, I suppose, was there a pressure to kind of go along with what your mom and dad were doing, or were you literally just doing your own thing? Because sometimes people can feel that tension of mom and dad are Christians, so I kind of have to, you
Mm.
know, you have to make your faith your own, really. Isn't that
Yeah,
kind of the way to
exactly.
put it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, there was nothing, no
Mm.
pressure at all because, and I think at least I believe that's how it should be
Yeah,
because if you're raising your children well, then it should always be a choice because
yeah,
Christ, he didn't come and force us to follow him. He gave us
yeah,
a choice and he's given us free will. And so I was very blessed to have that choice and to have that um, freedom to choose.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, in that, there is the thing of if I did do something wrong or if I did stray away, there would be a consequence for that.
Yeah.
But it was never pushing me into faith, you know.
Sure.
It was
Sure.
never forcing a religion onto me.
Yeah.
And that, if anything, that has given me a stronger faith, I think, than if I had been pressured into following Christ,
Yeah.
by my parents.
That's awesome. It really is awesome because sometimes, sometimes people can feel pressured, sometimes people don't. It just
Mm.
depends on how people process stuff, and it's
Yeah,
great. It's great that we've got to get a bit of an insight into who you are because you didn't just wake up a Christian, right? There was that point in your life where
yeah,
you
definitely.
heard the gospel, the conviction of the Holy Spirit was there, and it was almost like a jigsaw puzzle coming together. And the last piece was for you to respond to the call
Mm,
of salvation, to ask Jesus in, and you have, and he caused you to be born again by the Spirit of God. And now you're coming on this tour, the More Than Words tour, right? And you're a spoken word artist. And usually when people hear spoken word, naturally they think, oh, it's boring. It's some person writing a poem down on a piece of paper and they're just talking very slow into a microphone and it seems a bit dragged out. But spoken word is a lot more exciting than people realize. And you're based in the
mm,
UK, and if my memory serves me correctly, spoken word is really taken off in the UK in the last couple of years at a massive rate, just very
yeah.
rapid pace. So, like, I suppose the obvious question I have is, why spoken word? How spoken word? How did that kind of fall into your lap? Was it something that you always had an interest in, or how did that work for you?
Spoken word has been the most unexpected, one of the most unexpected sort of passions for me
Mm,
because I was never interested in it.
okay.
Um, Not at all. I enjoy creating.
Mm,
Um, so I like, but more practically, so I like making things,
yeah.
and so I enjoy the creative process. But anything like spoken word music, nothing like that.
Mm,
Until in a, I was doing a school with an organization, and as part of an assignment, they had asked us to share the gospel in a creative way.
okay.
And from there, I had heard a few people doing spoken words,
Mm,
um, and I felt, I just wanted to give it a go.
yeah.
And so I gave it a go, and it was amazing. And I immediately just sort of fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's like you said, there's this common misconception that spoken word is this like this old, Shakespeare poetry type thing.
Yeah.
Whereas in reality, I don't think it's like that at all. I think there are
Nah.
aspects of that is true. I mean, if that is your style.
Yeah.
But then, like for me, my main inspiration comes from like Christian rap artists or
Mm,
Christian drill artists.
yeah.
People who rhyme, people who do all of that.
Yeah.
And I do believe, yeah, I think it's a powerful thing as well because you can be so much more genuine with it than with other art forms.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
so I think there's a lot of power in it as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that there, man, that your influence is Christian hip hop and Christian drill. Because for me, I'm a massive fan of Christian hip hop, have been since the day I got saved, but I'm also a massive fan of battle rap.
Right.
How punchlines, how they're able to do certain angles, and I think battle rap it really like because we're going on tour with Loso and A Ward, and they're not just
Yeah.
battle rappers; they're in the top 10 in the world. And right now in the
Yeah.
world, there's 3,200 battle rappers active at the moment, and they're top 10.
Yeah. It's
They're,
incredible.
they're battle rappers, but they also love Jesus and they represent him well in the battle rap scene.
Mm.
Like they've often said to me about how after battle rap events, they'll do like, their opponents will come and talk to him privately away from cameras and say, hey, bro, can you pray for me? I've got a family member who's in ICU right now, or hey, can you pray for me
Mm.
about a particular situation? So there's real ministry happening behind the scenes that Instagram doesn't always capture, right?
Mm.
which I think is
Wow.
awesome because when people hear rap or when they hear drill or when they hear battle rap, naturally people just think of the negative connotations that come with that.
Mm.
And the
Yeah.
reality is there's negative in pretty much every atmosphere of influence in society, right? But I love
Yeah.
how God has redeemed us to be redeemers in culture,
Mm.
in the sense of Christian drill. Oh, you're going drill music. That's where they wear the ski masks and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, let's redeem that for the glory of God, which is why I think it's awesome that we have scripts coming on tour with us, right? And I just
Yeah.
love it, man, how we have a wonderful opportunity to speak light into darkness,
Mm.
And I suppose I want to ask you this. I love asking spoken word artists this question, right? I have a memory of a goldfish
Right.
with most stuff, but when it comes to spoken word, I know every spoken word piece I've written.
Wow.
It's the Lord, man. It really is. Every time because I
Yeah.
write, I have a rhyme. So if I remember the first rhyme, I'll remember the second one, so on, so on. So it just gets
Mm.
drilled into me. But what's your creative process like? Is there a process where you have to memorize it? Do you write a particular way to help memorize it, or how does that look for you?
I mean, I think you said it perfectly. It can only be God, you know.
Yeah,
The the amount of the amount of words and script that gets internalized when doing spoken word or any art form, like music,
yeah,
poetry, it can only be God to do it to that level because you're memorizing beyond what you should naturally be able to memorize.
yeah.
Um, there are a few things that I do um, when it comes to memorizing passages and things like that. So
Mm.
I have this process of I use a lot of visualization. So
Okay.
visualizing what I'm writing or
Yeah.
what I'm reading.
Mm.
And then also repeating. So reading, repeating out loud,
Yeah.
repeating out the script, and then visualizing it as well. And then trying to do just breaking it into small chunks as well.
Mm.
So there's there's a bunch of little things that you know you can do.
Yeah.
A bunch of little things that I do, but at the end of the day, it can only be God.
Yeah. That's right. And do you know what I love, man? About like spoken word in particular. There's such a freedom to make it as short or as long as you
Mm.
like. There's no,
Yeah.
like in hip hop, you've got an instrumental. It's like usually 3 to 4 minutes long. You have to be on
Hmm.
time with the beat. Where spoken word, like I think my longest spoken word is 3 minutes.
Right. Wow.
Whereas when you think of some spoken word artists, especially in the UK, you got some of them there and it's 9 minutes long. And I'm like,
Yeah,
if
they're
I
doing
ever
it for.
perform something for 9 minutes, I think it's too long.
Yeah.
Like if you can condense it, that's the way my brain is because I'm always trying to visualize myself if I'm sitting down and I'm listening to this.
Mm.
Can they capture my attention for 9 minutes?
Mm.
Because I'm easily distracted. I could see a fly come across the room and suddenly I'm just like waiting for it to land on me so I can squash it. Whereas, so when I'm
Yeah.
writing, I like to kind of do a lot of punchlines, rhyme scheme,
Right.
pauses, interact with the crowd, so that the crowd almost feel like they're a part of some of the pieces that I write about. And I think it also
Mm.
helps because oftentimes I always try to put myself in a position where I'm not speaking to the crowd, I'm speaking with them.
Right.
So it's not like you're here and they're here, but rather it's like, yo, we're here.
Yes.
You know, what is one of the spoken word pieces that you have written that you're most excited about to perform on this tour?
There's there's a few.
Mm,
Um,
awesome.
there's a few. I really like writing. I really like performing things that tell a story,
Mm,
obviously,
yeah,
but then tell Christ's story through it as well.
yeah,
So so that Christ is magnified no matter what the subject is,
yeah,
so that the glory goes to God. Because at the end of the day, that's all I care about is God gets glorified.
yeah.
Um, and so there's a few. Um, yeah, I like to. A lot of my work gets inspired by scripture,
Cool.
so I like to take things from passages of scripture,
Yeah,
and then maybe tie it into something so that it's relatable in a way,
Yeah.
and then tying it into Christ and just sort of mixing all of these different things and then bring it into one piece.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's what I personally like to do.
Yeah, I think there's such a beauty in that though, man. Like you said it, how you described your writing process is exactly how I do it. Like if I'm talking
Right.
about pornography or suicide or mental health
Mm,
or grief, like I'll talk about it all very honestly, very raw. But by the
mm,
time you get to the end of the spoken word piece, there's a presentation of the gospel in the midst of the
mm,
reality of this pain or this confusion or this experience. And I think there's such a beauty in that, man. Like it's a
mm,
joy to be able to talk about difficult topics but present the solution every time, which is
mm.
Jesus. And
Yes.
it's the I suppose the battle for us is always making sure that the last thing that people hear is oftentimes the most important.
Mm.
You know,
That's what
like
people
so it's
remember.
like, yeah, like you remember about how Jesus intervened, Jesus came, Jesus bled,
Mm,
Jesus died, Jesus rose again. So there's just that, and I think it's awesome that you said that because that's what we get to do. Like it's
mm,
that's part of the whole tour, more than words. It's we're going to
mm,
cover a lot of topics. There's people coming out joining us who drill, which is I've said scripts, myself, yourself, or spoken word artist, Loso and A Word or
mm,
spoken word. Then you've got Ebby who does singing, I believe, and then you've got celebration worship. They do worship, and so. But what I love about it all is, man, like I said it on the podcast that I recorded last week, how every genre represented on this tour is worship.
yes.
No,
Yeah.
no matter how you want to categorize it or say about it, because I always see it, man, how, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning, God created
Yes.
man in his likeness and image, right? And he said it was good. So there's been a level of creativity been deposited into each and every single one of us. And I see
Mm,
that as when I take that creativity which he has blessed me with and you with evidentially, right? Which is spoken word, using words and so on. When I use that and you use that as an offering of worship to him, I believe it's one of the most beautiful acts of worship that we can actually give back to him.
mm.
So when you
Yeah.
sit down at your desk and you're writing stuff, that's worship. It's not just
Yeah.
a mundane task of trying to structure words together. No, it's part of your worship to create something that will glorify the Savior. So that one day when you and me get to heaven, the only words I actually care about is well done, good and faithful servant.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
there's a joy in that. Now, obviously, there's a reality where you'll always deal with your own failures or, oh, is this good enough? No, I shouldn't perform this. Maybe it's not good enough. Maybe it's not as da 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 da. Da. But a part of faith is stepping out of the boat and going, do you know what? I've writ this. I'm going to suppress my feelings for what they are. They're feelings, they're not facts,
Mm,
you know?
mm,
And it's just that reality of constantly stepping out of the boat, trusting the Lord with what He's given you. And then oftentimes I find that some of the spoken words that are not as punchy or as creative oftentimes bless the most unexpected people in my church,
mm.
and then they come back to you and say, that was brilliant. I'm going, was it really? I didn't think it was that great. You know what I mean? Because you know yourself, you
Yeah.
have those spoken words that you love performing, you love the punchlines, how it ends, you get all excited performing. Then you've got other ones where it's like, I mean, it's good, but it's not my number one piece. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just great to see just that. And I suppose, what are you most excited about for this tour, man?
Oh, I think meeting other artists
Yeah.
because I've only been doing spoken word for about a year,
Okay.
and
Wow.
so I don't know anyone in the industry at all.
Sure.
So meeting like-minded, not just Christians, but Christians who are doing the same types of things that I do, and then being able
Sure.
to learn from them
Yeah.
and take things from those people who have been in the industry for 10, you know, 10 times as long as I have.
Yeah.
So meeting other people, and then also just meeting like people who are consuming it as well. So people who are
Yeah.
watching it,
Sure.
because I feel like you would learn. I mean, I know I would probably learn the most from them as well,
Yeah.
because they're the ones who have actually come out of their way to come and watch it, and to see it.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. And then also just to, like you said, it's a form of worship. So just to worship. in the way that I enjoy worshiping.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think I would have to agree with you, man. There's two things that I'm super excited about, which is going on tour with you guys, which means we're going to spend a lot of time together over the 4 days, you know. So
Yeah.
there'll be a lot of conversations, a lot of opportunities to uplift one another, get to know one another, support one another, cheer one another on, and as you said, learn from each other. Be like a sponge,
Mm.
you know. Like it's like I mean, I've been doing spoken word for I think it's 8, 9 years now, but that doesn't mean
Right.
that there's no such thing as higher tiers and all this. It's nothing to do with that, man. It's
Mm.
like I'm going here being a sponge, learning from everyone that I
Mm.
can and imparting stuff when I can to be helpful. It's not like none of us are competing with each other. We're
No.
collaborating, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
We're all being used as a jigsaw puzzle. I believe it every day of this tour. I see it like a jigsaw puzzle. Every person coming together, putting their piece into it, and then by the end of it, people will see the Jesus.
Mm.
There'll be an opportunity to respond to Jesus, be encouraged by Jesus, be found by Jesus. And then the second one I'm really excited, as you said, is to connect with people each day, to genuinely after perform my piece, to interact with people. Maybe there might be an opportunity to pray with them, to
Yeah.
encourage them or whatever it may be that opportunity for ministry, man, just to really meet people where they're at. And they may say to
Yeah.
you, oh, that spoken word you touched on it was a really personal thing for me. And then there might be an opportunity to say, you know what? I believe that God can move in your life in that way because he did it for me. I'm living proof.
Yeah.
So there's there's a lot of ministry that's going to happen in those days. I just think that we have to be mindful of allowing the Holy Spirit to guide those moments of ministry because they're going to happen and
They
I'm
will.
really
Definitely.
excited for it. Do you know what I mean? It's not even about performing and round of applause, buy my merch, see
Mm.
you later. I don't care if no one buys my merch. What I'm praying for, even in my own time, is just for opportunities just to minister to people, just to see people where they're at and befriend them.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Not
Yes.
like you're here, here, here. You know what I mean? It's just to befriend people and hear what they have to say and thank them for coming because, as you said, people are giving up their time to come
Yeah.
to something because so there's obviously an appetite in them or there might be a curiosity in them. So you don't know what people are coming to these events with, you know what I mean? What baggage
No.
they may be carrying or what's going on in their head. So like that's why I think that us as spoken word artists and even as artists in general is when I say speak into the darkness, oftentimes we don't know the darkness that we're speaking into.
Yeah.
We're trusting the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords to fill our mouth.
Mm.
And that's why even now, like I'm just kind of prayerfully considering my set. What do I
Mm.
want to perform? And more importantly, what does the Lord want to perform? But I'm also allowing the Lord to maybe inspire me with something to write, maybe a particular piece.
Mm.
It's because there are four different dates, four different parts of Ireland, four different people groups, different ethnic groups, nationalities, life experiences. So when you think of it like that, man, it's much more than just getting up there and your 20-minute set or however
Yeah.
long it is and then going off. So it's buzzing for it, man, beyond belief. I wish it was tomorrow, because I've known about it for
Yeah.
such a long time as well.
Yeah.
And like yeah, it's crazy that it's now a reality. I suppose I should have asked you this at the start, but now that it's on my mind, I'm going to ask you,
Mm.
how did you respond when Godfrey or Richie reached out to you and let you know that you were selected for the tour? How did that happen, or what was were you nervous or?
I think it was mostly excitement. It was
Mm,
just excitement because I wasn't expecting to be doing something like this.
okay.
Um, I put my application in 2 days before the application's closed. I'd only
Wow.
heard about it like a week earlier,
Okay.
from a connection from my dad, and so
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I just heard that it was a spoken word. There was a spoken word tour
Yeah.
or a tour with spoken word, and that Richie had seen some of my things and was
Mm,
said I should put my audition in for it.
yeah.
So I was clueless.
Sure.
And then to hear that I have been accepted, being with the little experience that I have, that was just it was amazing.
Yeah, man.
And like I said, it was an answer to prayer because it was a door that God had opened.
Yeah.
There's nothing I could have done to have been put in this position.
Sure.
It was purely just God. God
Yeah.
opening the door, and then the excitement of seeing, oh, okay, there's a door that's open. Now I get to see what's behind this door.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Wow. And like, have you watched any of Loso or A Ward's stuff, spoken words, content? And what was your
I've watched a
reaction
little
to
bit.
some of their stuff?
Yeah, I watched a little bit.
Mm,
To be honest, I wasn't too sure. Like I said, I'd only heard about it through my family, so
sure.
I didn't really know anything that was going on. But I did watch when I when I after I put in my application, I did a bit of research and watched some of their stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to be working with them. You know, having seen what I have,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be an amazing. They're going to bring something truly powerful,
Yeah.
and then to be able to witness that, and then to work alongside that, even just as a support act, just to support like that,
Yeah,
that
man.
is a blessing.
Yeah. It's true. And I suppose as a way to close out the podcast episode, man, it seems like an obvious question, right? But I don't know what the culture is like in the UK. Although I was born in the UK, I was born in Leytonstone in East London, right? And
Okay.
I lived there till I was 7. I moved over to Ireland, so I'm practically Irish now. But I know the Irish culture, people tend to be very, when it comes to making a decision, we're very, meh. We're very a bit maybe slow to act, right? And what I'm trying to say is
Mm,
tickets are on sale now. But as
mm.
one of the artists on the tour, why should people come on the tour? Like as a way to encourage people, why should they come on the tour? What should they expect?
I mean, why wouldn't you? It's an amazing opportunity. You're going to see something that is, I mean, I'll be honest, spoken word is, even though it's getting bigger, it's still rare, you
Yeah,
know, and especially to have it to this level,
yeah,
and not just spoken word, but spoken word that's grounded in the gospel, grounded in God,
yeah,
God orchestrated. That is, there's so few opportunities to come and see something like this, to just be part of it, And I
yeah,
mean, the people that are part of it, it's not just us who are performing, but everyone who's coming to watch, everyone
yeah,
who's
man.
coming to take part, they're all part of that too.
Yeah,
And just as we're taking things away from that, so will anyone else.
yeah,
And so I think it's just a really powerful opportunity to see something that is not done very often, to see it done by people who have sought God in this. And so there's going to be, it's not just going to be a performance, there's actually going to be fruit coming from it.
yeah.
And so to be able to come and to see that fruit and to experience it and to taste it, and then, yeah, to see where it goes from there, it's an amazing, amazing opportunity.
That's right. That's
So yeah.
and do you have any social media channels where maybe people could check out your stuff that I could put the links in the description below? And where could people find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. That's about all the social media I can manage.
Cool.
But I'm on Instagram, and
Yeah.
I can send you the link to that. I think you already have it. But
Yeah, yeah. If I already have it, I can link it down below. But Joel, this was our first conversation we had, man, and I genuinely mean this. I'm excited to get to know you better, to be a part of this tour with you, man, and watch the Lord minister to people through your act of faith, which is by saying yes to come on this tour, man. Thank you for your time. I'm excited for it, man. I'll be praying for you over the coming weeks as well, that the Lord will give you inspiration and divine wisdom into how to design your set, what to perform, what to say, how to say it, because as I
mm,
said, man, it's a wonderful opportunity for us all to minister the same message just in different forms, you know.
mm,
So yeah, man, thank you
yeah,
for giving up your time to come on and share
thank you for
with
having
the
me.
people about this tour.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's been an amazing experience, and looking forward to more conversations in the very near future.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And guys, that's it for another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast, the More Than Words series. This is Joel. Joel is the spoken word artist that I've been talking to. I will include his links down below for content and stuff. But let me say this. If you haven't bought the ticket, buy it now. It's going to cost you about €6. Let me break that down. €6 today will get you maybe a cup of coffee and maybe a packet of chewing gums if you're lucky. It's nothing, right? It's one less coffee, but I promise you, it's a must not miss. Come be a part of it, invite a friend, family member, church member, whoever it may be, and use this as an opportunity to share the gospel with someone. Maybe someone doesn't know Jesus, bring them along, and they'll hear about the Savior who has saved all our souls in a creative form. It's going to be an awesome opportunity. You don't want to miss it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next week, take care. God bless. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast. Did you enjoy the episode? Maybe did it encourage you or motivate you? Do you think there's someone in your life could benefit or be blessed by this episode? If so, then why not send it to them? Lastly, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you use. This massively helps to spread the podcast literally all across the world. And don't forget, the hope is to life as oxygen is to the body. God bless you and have a wonderful week. Take care.